Hey guys, I have this video here from MrLlama that is called Path of Exile 2 Endgame is problematic. And of course this title caught my attention and I want to see what is his opinion about Endgame. Previously I hadn't tried the Endgame, so I didn't want to share my opinion until I actually tried it. Now I am almost level 91 and I have tried a lot the Endgame, so I feel like I can speak about it. So let's see what he has to say, brother.
What's up, YouTube? MrLlama here, and today I want to talk a little bit about Path of Exile 2 Endgame. Now, the more that I've played into this Endgame, the further I feel it is actually the vision of Path of Exile 2. And what I mean by that is, Endgame feels like a complete opposite of what Path of Exile 2 starts out and builds up to be, right? When you're playing through the base game, there is difficulty in this back and forth, really great combat that you're getting in the campaign. You can respawn on death. You can respawn at checkpoints. There's checkpoints before boss fights. You go in, there's a hard boss fight, you die, you respawn, you go again, you try again. You do it a few times, you learn the boss's different moves, how it telegraphs everything. Okay, now I know when he does this, audio cue or this, I need to go here. Like, there's all these pieces to learn, and it's great for all of that. There's...
Brother, I was pressing my flask and I was not regenerating. Is there a motherfucker in here that doesn't let you regenerate? By the way, that stupid motherfucker that doesn't let you go above certain HP that says you can't go over 50 HP, that is fucking stupid, dude. I lost my fucking used 15 map. Motherfucker! And I am talking in here about Endgame and this happens! This is bullshit, dude! And yes, you can see what he's saying is true. This feels vastly different than how the game starts. I am not saying it's bad. I am saying that it feels like two different games. By the way, the start is not as hard as people say. I told you guys that the campaign was going to nerf itself once people knew what was happening. People are blasting through the campaign right now like it is nothing. And I told you this was going to happen. And it is not only because they have items from the first... no, because if you go and try it in SSF right now that you have nothing, you will still crush the campaign because now you have experience. And I told you guys this was going to happen. And this is a game where you go through the campaign every season, so, or every league. So you will have experience. The campaign won't be that hard. But it is true that it feels like two different games, the campaign from the end game. I remember that at the start of the game, we were having this discussion like, oh, the PoE players want Path of Exile to be more like PoE 1 and PoE 2 feels different or whatever. And yes, it feels different at the start, but at the end of the game, it is more like PoE 1. It is not exactly like PoE 1, but it turns more into blasting and blasting and blasting. So I don't know if they actually wanted the vision that we wanted from the slower combat and all of that the campaign gave us at the start, or they want this blasting that the endgame is giving us, or they want both. They want this transition where at the start you feel like a weakling and at the end you feel like a god. I don't know. I don't know what is the actual vision, but what he's saying here is true. It does feel like two different games. I am liking both games, but I like the first game more, the slower campaign game. But this one is not that bad, but this was bullshit. Did you see like that? I was running trying to get HP and I couldn't get HP. Maybe I should have tried to kill the monsters, but fuck, dude.
Really great density in the campaign. I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough, but the density of monsters feels really solid, like near perfect. You don't feel like you're running around and there's just nothing ever, but at the same time, you don't feel like you're running around and it's just constantly monsters always on top of you. Different zones have different densities. It just feels really solid. Yeah, and then, of course, also within the campaign, there's a lot of tutorials to kind of teach you some basic things along the way. So I felt like coming in, yes, I had some PoE.
Me coming as a new player that I didn't know shit about PoE 1, and I just started learning every single thing in PoE 2. I still know nothing, right? I am still a noob, But the game is me, brother. I learned about the gems, about the skills, about the passive skill tree, the campaign, the trading, the stats. You go learning little by little the game. In the end game, they start not teaching you shit. So there is a disconnect there when in the campaign they are holding your hand and then they throw you into the end game and you don't know what is happening and you have to go to YouTube to know what the fuck delirium is, right? So yes, there is a disconnect in there. Maybe they can improve that in the future. But they ease you in, brother. They ease you in at the start, which is really good because that was one of the weakest points in Path of Exile 1, and they are addressing it in Path of Exile 2. In my opinion, really good decision.
One experience, but with Path of Exile 2, I felt like I could come in still and it would teach me some new ways that things worked, and I never felt confused, which I will say in Path of Exile 1, I felt confused many times when I played through, even after hundreds of hours. Sometimes I'd come back in and I'd still be like, what is this doing? What is this mechanic? Why are these like this? There was still a lot of confusion. So I think they've done a fantastic job there in clearing that up. But once you get to the end game, and honestly, kind of in Cruel, it starts to lose the vision.
That is true. Cruel is incredibly easier than the normal campaign. You start feeling the transition between the two games in Cruel difficulty. Already in Cruel difficulty, you start like the power scaling starts going off the rails. And ask anybody will say to you that Cruel is not Cruel. Cruel is the first time. The first time is Cruel. The second time is easy mode. So it is harder the first time and Cruel is easier, which is weird, but it is because I believe it is because of two things. First of all, your character, your build is taking shape. You are more geared. You are blasting more, and on top of that, since you are repeating the campaign, now you kind of know what is happening. You know the mechanics, you know the stuff. You have more experience. It is not the same as the very first time you played it.
Right, where you start to just get too powerful and you lose a lot of the good combat and stuff. But it's really in the end game that you just start to get into the absurdity, where instead of difficult back and forth combat, it's just kind of one-shots both ways, right? You either are getting one-shot or one-shotting everything. And again, that kind of reflects how I feel when I would be in Path of Exile 1. I'm running around, nothing matters, all the mobs are just paper thin, blowing up everywhere, and then there's a reflect mob, or there's whatever, and I just go, and I'm dead. And I'm like, okay. One portal. Literally, that's like the complete opposite of how the game teaches you, which is you will go in, it will be difficult, you'll have hard fights, but you'll get multiple attempts at it. Literally coming back and going into one portal.
This is something that at the start I was like, oh, I like it in a sense that the game is like semi-hardcore, not entirely hardcore because you don't lose your character, but it's semi-hardcore because you are afraid to die and you take defenses seriously because dying has consequences and you don't go like glass cannon because if I die it doesn't matter, so I will go glass cannon. So I like that philosophy. I like that philosophy where you have to, your defenses matter because if you die you lose a lot. But at the same time, I feel like we are losing too much. Something has to give, brother, because right now you give up the map, the waystone, right? That you use the waystone, you lose it, okay. You lose whatever was in the map originally. If a boss, a delirium, a corruption, an irradiation, whatever, you lose it. The bridge, you lose that. You have to run it again to clear the path. And on top of that, you lose experience. Brother, take away something. Like, if you are going to leave it that I have to repeat the map, just take away my waystone, and maybe I don't like the experience thing, but maybe the map doesn't go away. Or maybe you let me hack my waystone again. Or you don't take away the experience and everything else goes away. But you will still encourage defenses because you are still punishing my death. But right now you make people want to quit the game because it is too much, right? I still want the punishment for the death to make defenses matter, to make people want to build defense and not a glass cannon. I like that approach. I like the semi-hardcore nature, but at the same time, my dude, it is too much. It is too much. Like, something has to give up in here. Like, maybe you don't take the experience, or you take the experience and you don't take the map, or you take the map and you don't take the waystone, or you don't take the, or you take the waystone and I clear the map. I don't know. Something has to happen in here, dude. Something has to happen in here because it is too much.
And then that's it. Feels terrible. And then I tried to do party play, and I died, and my party member was still in the map, and I just had to like sit in town and wait for them to do it. And it was like, well, this isn't very fun.
That's a stupid one.
Then you take that into boss fights, and it completely, again, there's no learning these boss fights and applying what you learn or anything, because you just die. And if you spend hours and hours building up to get to a pinnacle boss, which it feels like are meant to be learned through fighting them, and then you die, you just lose all that progress to get there. And
I have an experience with that, and I am going to tell you. I didn't want to go and research stuff, but experience it for the first time. I got a bridgestone. I don't have points in my shed because I haven't done the boss, the pinnacle boss for the bridge that you need to be able to have points in your bridge, right? I am going to show you this thing. I don't have in bridge because you have to kill the boss to get points in here. So I got a bridgestone, and I said I am going to try it, but I don't want to look on YouTube the mechanics. I went into the bridgestone, I opened the map, and then you have a timer and you have to kill mobs fast or the timer goes out. I didn't know what was happening. I lost my timer and I lost the bridgestone, and that is like 1 divine or almost 1 divine. I don't know what it is. Like at the moment it were like 70 exalted or something like that. Lost in 30 seconds because I didn't know what the fuck was happening, dude. And again, what happens? You break it, you lose it. You lose it completely. Again, something has to give. In that example, I didn't lose the experience because I didn't die at least, okay. But what if you are fighting the boss and you die? Then you lose experience, then you lose the map, then you lose the vision, then you lose it. Something has to give up in this, brother, because it is too.
it's like, what is this experience?
And the thing is that you if you want to clear the point being, if you want to clear these encounters that are harder and have specific mechanics, you have to let me try them several times. You have to let me try them several times because how am I supposed to learn this? So I have one try every time I farm for a bridgestone, but you need 300 splinters for that, or farm and buy it. So between tries, you will take a long time to try it again. How are you supposed to learn it, dude?
What are they trying to do with it? It doesn't feel like it matches. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
And on top of losing the pinnacle boss, the hours to get there, you're losing the Atlas map mods, you're losing the waystones, you're losing the experience, you're losing any of the loot within the maps that, you know, whenever you're there. I mean, it's like so punishing. And I like punishing. That's the thing. I enjoy when a game is hard. I enjoy when a game is punishing. I think the early campaign 1, 2, 3 is punishing, but you have to be able to give back some. And it feels like in the end game, you're not getting that. You don't have any checkpoints. There's an overwhelming amount of normal mob density, right? The great density that I was talking about earlier on in the campaign, it feels like when you get to maps, it just kind of like floods more, and it's just like too much. But again, they don't matter. They just kind of explode everywhere. It feels like there's not enough bosses overall. There's way too.
Oh, this is another thing. You guys know that one of the reasons that I am liking this game a lot, and I like the campaign a lot, is there were a lot of bosses, and the bosses are so cool. And you guys know that I love bossing. But now that I am in the end game, I fight one boss like from time to time, like several hours between bosses. Several hours between bosses. Brother, no. I want to blast bosses, dude. I am playing this shit because I want to kill bosses. My brother, you need to give me more bosses. I have heard this thing that other people have said, which is put a boss in every map. Yep. I agree with that. In fact, give me maps that are just a boss. That will be us. That will be the best for me. I don't want to go around clearing mobs like an idiot. Give me maps that are just the boss. That will be awesome for me. You want to do this thing, you can do that. Every map has a boss, and you clear the map and you clear the boss. And the ones that are currently, the ones that are marked with a boss, that one is just the boss. That would be awesome, brother. That would be awesome.
Just like rares, and then the backtracking for all of the rares is very tedious and annoying. Like Diablo 4, has the backtracking. Don't bring that over to this game. It's not a fun experience to run through the entire map and then see one rare way down here in this little spot. And of course, there's no checkpoints or anything, so you just have to run all the way down to kill the one rare. And it's like, one, I wish there were just more bosses instead, in the maps. But
there is no way you can convince me that killing rares, random rares with 700 modifiers is more fun than fighting bosses, because I will never ever be convinced of that. In fact, I would prefer if a map was killing 3 bosses than killing 8 rares. I prefer the 3 bosses than the 8 rares. Fuck rares, dude.
2, the backtracking is just not fun. And then
by the way, I am complaining and talking about this shit because we are talking about this, right? But you guys watch that video that I said that Path of Exile 2 was ruining my life because I am playing all the time. Brother, I love the game. And as you can see, I am passionate, and that is why I'm saying what I'm saying. But I still love the game. Don't misunderstand things in here, dude.
Lastly, with the differences, right? There's kind of a lack of tutorials in the end game. Like I say, when I was playing through the entire campaign, I actually felt really great. I felt like the game was explaining things at an appropriate pace, not overwhelming me, but not, like giving me hand holding, right? Where it's annoying and it's like arrows pointing where you need to go.
Brother, I am agreeing completely with MrLlama. My dude, you are making a great analysis in here, dude.
Like, I really appreciated many of the quests. I'd have to think a little and it wouldn't tell you exactly. And then, okay, I got to maybe do this. And, like, it was an appropriate pace and an appropriate amount of guidance. But in the end game, honestly, I was very confused for a while. There were just a lot of systems and ways that things worked that I didn't really understand. I didn't feel like it was explained properly.
As I said, brother, nobody tells you what a breach is. You are supposed to know what a breach is. And of course, a lot of people understand it because they played that league or that mechanic in Path of Exile 1. I am a new player. I have no idea what a breach is, what delirium is, what ritual is. I had to go to YouTube to find out what these mechanics were because I have no idea, and the game doesn't explain it to you. They have to figure that out.
I'm guessing some of this has to do with they kind of threw Endgame together more at the end, right? He said they spent a lot of time on the campaign, and then they spent like 6 months or something on the Endgame. They kind of shifted away from Acts 4, 5, and 6.
That is one thing that I feel like we are going to see a lot of changes for the end game. Not only because of all the feedback that we are giving, but also because they already knew the end game was going to have problems because they threw it together just to launch it, right? Because they didn't want to launch the game without an end game, and they said, you know what, let's put this together and let's chip it. But they knew that the end game was undercooked. So we know that the endgame is going to face a lot of changes and iterations, which is good in my opinion. But again, the thing is, what is the direction they are going to take? Is they address some stuff, but they keep the blasting, or they slow down the game to match it with the campaign, or they like that you grow in power magnificently and then you blast everything. That part I don't know. I know they are going to iterate on the end game, but I don't know if they are going to keep these two different games, basically this disconnection between the early game and the end game, or they are going to smooth out the transition. Like, yes, we want you to feel weak, then we want you to feel strong, but you smooth out the transition and you feel the progression, and it isn't as impactful because right now, once you end the third act and you go into cruel, you feel the disconnect, and then you go to the end game and you will feel even more the disconnect. So, and a smoother transition wouldn't make it feel so weird.
Into getting a good end game in there, but I don't think it worked out. If I'm going to be honest, I don't think the end game is nearly as enjoyable. When I play through a character and finish up Cruel, all I want to do is start a new character and play the campaign again because I just don't want to get into the end game. It's just...
By the way, the campaign is so awesome, and I remember that when I started playing, I didn't know what was going to happen to me in terms of, I come from Diablo 4, a game where you only complete the campaign once, and then in every season you skip the campaign. What is going to happen in Path of Exile, again, that you have to complete the campaign every time. The campaign has to be really good if I am going to do this campaign hundreds of times. Now that I am doing it, and I have done it with several characters, I think that repeating the campaign is kind of genius, brother. It is the way to go. Skipping the campaign is stupid. Now I am in the let's do the campaign again camp. Doing the campaign again is good because it offers you something to do in the early game where you are not that strong and you don't repeat from the start what you are going to repeat in the end game. So what happens in Diablo 4 is that this is a video that I should do by itself, but what happens in Diablo 4 is at the start, since you skip the campaign, you start doing the end game activities right away. So when you get to end game, you are already bored of these activities and you have to keep doing them. But in Path of Exile, since you start with the campaign and then you swap to the end game, you are not bored of the end game activities because you are starting with them, you are done with the campaign. So it is kind of genius, and since the campaign is good and the bosses are good, you don't feel like it is boring to do the campaign. So I am now on the do the campaign camp, dude. It is good to repeat the campaign, and skipping the campaign is stupid.
Just not like, it's just not that fun of an experience. There's other notes on it that I'm not really in comparison, but just other notes. On death effects are still awful. They removed, the volatile crystals, which was great, but honestly, there's still too many on death effects, and they're just tiring. It's just super exhausting to always have to watch after I kill stuff and just want to pick up my loot. Oh, is there that, on death? And then, of course, with how much stuff is on the screen, they're even worse, right? It's like you can't even see it all the time. And then you have the false blow-ups. Whenever you kill a rare in a map, it does an on-death explosion.
Oh, brother, yeah, that always happens to me, that I don't know if that shed is going to hit me or it's not going to hit me, because the rares do the, by the way, sick animation, the corruption stuff where they explode, whoa, and you think, brother, that is, but that doesn't do damage. And you are always, and you don't know what does and doesn't do damage. It is insane. They keep you on your toes, dude.
But it doesn't actually deal damage, so it's like the false positives, and
yeah.
Those are still exhausting me. I'm still like not over those. I just want all of them gone. Many fights, including bosses and especially bosses, feel like delete them before they do anything. And so that's like not very fun, right? It feels like some of the fights have really gone away from, again, the campaign fights where it felt more engaged.
I don't like, and I believe I have a video talking about this in boss fights in Diablo 4, where I say that I don't like boss fights in Diablo 4 because in the end game, that when you do Uber bosses and Duriel and Andariel, it is one shot or be one shot, right? So you skip all the mechanics and you one shot the boss. Well, not even be one shot because those bosses won't kill you. But you just go and one shot the boss, and that is not even a boss. So I don't like that. And in here it is even worse because you can die to a one shot. So it is one shot or be one shot. That is not how it should be. It should be how it is in the early game, where we trade hits. It is cool. And there are mechanics that are supposed to one-shot you, but you know what those mechanics are. You can avoid them, but not every single fucking hit. Or things that are not well telegraphed that you are not expecting. Like that boss, Queen died to this, by the way. I also died to this. That was in Sanctum, the last boss in Sanctum, the dude with the hourglass. That makes the mechanic that if you don't step on all the hourglasses, you die to a one shot. Like, that comes out of nowhere. How are you supposed to know this? It is unfair, brother. That mechanic is unfair.
Aging, and these ones are like, you better have enough DPS to just take care of them before they'll just murder you. The Atlas system I actually find less rewarding personally. I don't know how other people feel about it.
I like that,
but just the like mapping world, I feel is maybe doesn't have enough direction to it, and so
they have to improve the Citadel situation and the way. This is something, brother. There are so many things in here. I should make videos about this too. Like the campaign thing is a video, and what I am going to talk about here is a video that could be talking about my things with Endgame. But one thing that you can see in the Endgame here, in my opinion, it is a huge problem, is that you can see that you need to do breaches to get points. You need to kill the boss after farming a lot of breaches to get points to improve the breaches. It should be the other way around. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to improve breaches if I can do them? This is backwards. This is backwards. And that happens with Expedition, with Delirium, and with Ritual is the worst one. So, you need to let me do them, brother. You need to let me do them so I can get the points, so I can use them, so I can go and fight them. But right now, I had to trade for these things to be able to get them, to be able to use them, to be able to get them in the first place. It doesn't make any sense, dude. It doesn't make any sense. Like here, increased quantity of breach splinters dropped by breach monsters. So to get this, to be able to get the breach splinters, to be able to get the breach stone, to fight the boss, I need this. But I can't get this if I don't fight the boss. It is backwards. It is backwards. This needs an improvement too. And the Citadel situation needs an improvement. I am going to make a video talking about this stuff because this is something that needs its own mention.
Don't feel like it's driving me as much towards a goal. Like in PoE 1, I actually thought it was really great. I actually really loved when you got to the end game and you were doing your tier 1, tier 2, you'd be moving up towards your red maps and you'd kind of...
Maybe that is why I like the Atlas, because I didn't play that in PoE 1. I come from the D4 where there is no Atlas, and to me the Atlas is fucking awesome.
See your progress growing. And here I don't really feel that. I don't feel much progress. I just kind of feel like I'm wandering aimlessly around. And so I think the idea is cute, but it's in practice, it's not working for me. Again, that may just be my personal opinion. I'd love to hear if other people have found more, enjoyment with that system. A big one, rarity applying to items and current.
Explain to me what the fuck. So while I have been reacting to this video, I died 2 times, so I lost 20% of my experience. And what the fuck, brother? Did you see how I died? I was deleted, dude. Nothing to do. Motherfucker. And I have almost 90% block chance. Imagine that.
Currency is really messing a lot of stuff up.
You guys know that I hate rarity. All my homies hate fucking rarity. Delete that shit from the game. I don't want to see it. I am even thinking about just creating SSF characters and just play SSF until rarity is gone from the fucking game.
And just the amount that it actually affects is totally imbalanced. So I actually love Magic Find.
Fuck that map, by the way. I have died 2 times to that shit. I am going to put a 1 in there, a 2. This one. I am just going to clear that fucking node because I need to clear the node to access this other stuff and the tower. Fuck!
Like, not a lot of people like Magic Find in Diablo 2, right?
Magic Find sucks!
Obviously, I'm a Diablo 2 guy. I actually love it in Diablo 2. I think it's not perfectly balanced. It's, you know, maybe a little too much on some of the best in slot items. It's a little too hard to get on like a Boazon or characters like that. But overall, I think it's pretty good. And I like the idea that you sacrifice some power or survivability or something for diminishing returns of higher chances at rare items. You're not increasing your rune drops.
I don't like that
You're not
idea.
increasing your quantity of items. You're not increasing the tier of the items that are dropping or anything else. You're just increasing the chance that an item will roll magic or roll rare or unique or set, right? Just slightly increasing those, and again at diminishing returns. In PoE 2, I feel like rarity is just
sucks.
Bonkers, right? I'm just like, when I go from 20 rarity to 200 rarity, suddenly I'm dropping exalts left and right and alchemy and just, I mean, everything is just flooding in, and applying it to currency, applying it to just everything it's way too much. It's way too good. And it just does not fit very well, and it feels like it's gonna kind of ruin the economy, and it's also just like promoting the wrong stuff. So I would love for them to go back and take a re-look at this.
They will do it,
probably
100%. Hey, make no mistake, when they come back and they do a patch, they are going to address rarity. In what way? I don't know. I don't think they will outright delete it, which is what I want, but they will do something about it. Make no mistake, they will address the situation somehow.
It way down, get it off of currency increase, and just have nothing to do with affecting currency. And then I think what they could do with it as well is they could actually tie that to survivability in a way, right? So we have 6 portals. Maybe you can start sacking some portals for some rarity. Obviously, you have to be careful of balancing this too much, so it's not like everybody just, you know, drops down and runs tier 10 maps or whatever when they're, instead of the T15s on 1 life and just, you know, barrels through that or anything. But there could be some way that you could have a balance of rarity versus what you're getting. But overall, I think you have to balance kind of the endgame systems better.
Instead of going around and trying to balance this thing and put it in a way, what is easier? Get rid of it. It is easier to just get rid of it, and then you don't have to do it.
Better.
And why keep it? The majority of people hate it. All my homies hate rarity.
First, because again, right now, when you're just flying through and one-shotting everything all over the place, and combat's lost all that meaning, it doesn't like have any good effect or good feeling, as opposed to campaign acts 1, 2, 3. When I'm going through acts 1, 2, and 3, now if I were to be sacking useful mods for rarity, I would feel it a lot more, right? Like, man, I feel like every single mod I can get in the campaign.
This undead effect is not that bad. This fat dude, that is the only undead effect that I am fine with. Because you know what is happening. You know what is happening. And the big ones like these circles, I am fine with those because you can see those too. But there are some undead effects that, my dude, bro. But the fat dude and the red circles, you can keep them. But the other shit has to go away.
Campaign actually matters. And so it's a very different feeling between early and late. And I will say, I do think that you want to have good power increase, right? You don't want to feel like your character is not increasing in power at all as they move forward in the game. But
one of the biggest things in this type of games is the power fantasy of becoming insane. So yes, it is true that you need to feel stronger, but just the increases in interactions in the skill tree and the support gems and all of that, that already scales the crazy things you can do a lot.
There is a proper line that you go on, and I feel like in PoE 2 it's lost it, right? It jumps off of that, and it really starts to shoot up into just the absurd territory. And again, the unenjoyable territory for me. Maybe people who love Path of Exile 1, it's, you know, more enjoyable for them, and they're like, this is great, I want this. But I know, at least for me, again, just sharing my personal opinion, when I get there, like I say, I just want to go play the campaign again. I'm like, the campaign is the best part of this game by far.
Yeah, agree.
And their visions, again, it doesn't match up. And I think that's the almost the biggest issue that I have, is everything you learn from the campaign, it just like doesn't apply to the end game. It feels like a completely separate game, kind of tacked on at the end, and it's not cohesive. So I would like to see them make some changes. I think they will. Obviously, they're on break for the holidays right now. But I do think, you know, when they come back, that'll be something they address. I know a lot of people have their own issues with Endgame. I'm sure there's other issues I didn't cover. I'd be interested to hear what your guys' thoughts are on it as well. But I just, you know, the more I've played it, the more I've really thought on it. And I felt like I want to put my thoughts out there. And again, it's early access, so we give them feedback and see what they do. So I'd be curious how you guys feel. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, YouTube.
Peace, brother. Brother, I agree basically with almost everything he said. This was a great video. We are in tune. He likes a little bit rarity. He thinks it can be fixed. That is basically the only thing we kind of disagree, because I prefer to see it deleted. Of course, I would prefer, if they are not going to delete it, improve it. But outside from that, almost everything we agree on. So yes, great video, brother, awesome video. And it prompted me to talk about some stuff that I want to make videos just talking about that. Shorter videos where I develop more these ideas. The campaign thing is one, and the things about the endgame that can be bullet points, like the disconnect in the Atlas 3, and the Citadels, and the disconnect between the two games that he mentioned in here. And there are other stuff out there, like the punishing. Like I like the punishment, but not that much, because right now it is insane. All of that, it is awesome. It is awesome. So yes, guys, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. How are you liking the end game? Do you like it? You don't like it? You started again, it made you quit the game. What are you doing? Let me know everything in the comments below. I love reading comments, even when they don't agree with me. I know that some people will say that they like rarity. And it is fine, brother. It is a game. You can like whatever you want. So yes, let me know everything in the comments below, brother. I love reading comments. Also, remember to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, all that cool stuff, my guys. Hey, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless you. And remember, don't be afraid ever, because this is just a ride.